We begin with a court case that has drawn a lot of attention and some controversy in our region. 2 years ago, a shooting inside a Tri-Cities grocery store left one man dead and another injured. I got to sit down with the prosecutor to talk about why the shooter isn't going to trial.
This is such a heartbreaking case, and I think that the community deserves to know what happened.
The person who killed one man and injured another at the Richland Fred Meyer 2 years ago will not go to trial, and he won't go to prison.
At this time, the court will accept the defendant's plea of not guilty by reason of insanity.
I sat down with Benton County Prosecutor Eric Eisinger, who says, like many of the people who spoke in court at Kelly's hearing last week, he's disappointed.
The law has always recognized a defense for insanity. I think there's a lot of factual questions about whether he actually was insane or not. It placed us in an impossible position when all 4 experts gave opinions that he was not able to perceive the nature and quality of his acts, that he basically didn't understand what he was doing.
Justin Crumbaugh was killed in the shooting in February of 2022. His family said in court, Kelly's actions after the shooting point to someone who knew what he'd done.
Leaving, doing searches, driving to Wall Wall on back roads, cleaning out his bank account all showed that he knew what he was doing and that he had done wrong.
If a person was insane and didn't know right from wrong when they just murdered someone and attempted to murder another, why would these types of searches be taking place? In their mind, there was no crime committed, so why search extradition and being arrested?
Was Kelly sane? His lawyers consulted an expert who said Kelly did not fully understand what he was doing on the day of the shooting. Eisinger says that's expected. What they didn't expect was that 3 other experts consulted by the prosecutor's office agreed.
This feels like a really unsatisfactory outcome, but it's one that we are stuck with legally. Like, we have exhausted all of our options, and it brought us to this point. And it seems hard to understand that somebody could be high-functioning and act, again, in a goal-oriented and intentional way, and yet be living in this schizophrenic, delusional, alternate reality.
He is a murderer and should be labeled as such, and should go to prison, not a cushy room in a mental hospital, to be treated like a sick patient, and where he can continue playing the system.
Is Kelly playing the system? I spoke with clinical psychologist Dr. Angela Klingensmith about how experts go about diagnosing someone with schizophrenia.
So a psychological test, most of the time what we'll have a set of preliminary scales that we look at, and essentially it helps us determine, is this person trying to paint a picture of what they would like us to think about them? Most often, somebody who is faking it isn't going to know specifically how to consistently fake a certain type of psychosis. I think the other big thing that's important to think about is when somebody does have access to the DSM-5 and they're, cherry picking, sometimes, there are very, very intelligent individuals out there who do know what they're doing. And that is why with these assessments that we do give, that's what helps us, because unless he's completed his doctorate in psychology or has access which would be very, very unethical, he's not going to be able to know how to quote unquote beat these tests. Because if you look in the DSM, all it says is what types of delusions and hallucinations there are and what the difference between catatonic and negative symptoms are.
1 week after the court hearing that sent Kelly to Eastern State Hospital, Crumbaugh's mother and sister tell me they're relieved to have some level of closure.
Do I ever want him out on the streets? No, I don't. I think he needs that's his punishment, if nothing else, where he didn't go to prison. His punishment, if he is in the mental hospital for the rest of his life, then at least we don't have to worry about him getting out and doing that to another family.
Now, the prosecutor says he's focused on making sure that Kelly does not get out of Eastern State Hospital. There is concern that he might stop taking his medication and become dangerous again if he is allowed out. If he tries, the prosecutor says the court will have to consider everything that has been entered into the court record so far over the past 2 years of work.